Hello, good morning. Here we are on the Social Work Shorts live channel. I don't often do lives on the Social Work Shorts channel. It's normally on the Self Care Shorts channel. But I was just having to think about some things, and I decided to go live. Risky business going live because you might say something you wish you hadn't, which kind of fits with this concept of the medium. Uh, the medium is the message kind of thing. But anyway, I thought this is not the purpose of this live, but I'm busy plugging my new book, From the Edges of Practice, Proposing Slow Social Work. It's a little thin thing. Do you know what I mean? You can read it in a weekend. That was the whole point. 7 essays on what a thing that I'm proposing, it's in the title, as slow social work. And it's because I've read it. I've read some stuff lately, um, which is one of the criticisms. How dare you be using theory and and using stuff that you've read to try and influence things on Facebook last night. I'll come to that. So I'm already saying things that I probably later might wish that I hadn't. That's not going to get like that. It's all good. It's all good. I'll pick that up. So proposing slow social work. There's a couple of books I've read about doing things slower. And there's a few things I've read recently over the last 6 months or so about how society and life is just faster. And that's a problem. So anyway, so on to that. So I'm not really plugging the book. He says, keep showing you it. I'm not really plugging the book, but buy the book. 99, I think it is. Make hardly anything from it, but there you go. It's more about the message. Well, that gets us to the subject of the thing. So last night, it's been a thing on Amazon where it's up for sale for a while, but I haven't really had a chance to do anything with it. So yesterday, I thought, well, innocently, I thought I'll post something on Facebook. I'll just post something on Facebook about it, and I thought I'll take a quote from it to kind of, give a flavour to what that is. And I flicked through the book to find something, and I got the end, and I picked the bit at the end. And I'll read it to you. I suggest slow social work is not a retreat; it's a return. So we're not, we're a return to something, a return to presence, a return to thoughtfulness, a return to the quiet, radical idea that change takes time. That's the change we're trying to facilitate as social workers, and the people are worthy of that time. In a world that demands faster everything, there is power in choosing to move differently, to step out of the fast flowing current, to listen more than speak, to find a way to continue, not faster but deeper, not faster but slower. And, if you read the book, which was the problem I had last night with a couple of the comments, they were from people who hadn't read it, you know. I think. I think they haven't read it. When I said, I don't think you've read this, they didn't respond with, oh, yes, I have. I ordered my copy weeks ago and I've read it. So I don't think they read it. I don't think they read it. So I'm labouring under that assumption. If you read the book, you see that I say, I am on the sidelines here. You know what I mean? Tell me, shout at me, I've got this wrong. And the people who I've sent it to so far, or who've bought it, haven't said that. So there was that. There was that kind of thing. So anyway, so last night, let's get back to the story. This is me all the world over, and I'm only 4 minutes in, and I haven't even told you the story. So last night, I posted a quote from the book on social media with a little meme picture of the book, and within minutes, I got some nice comments, and I also got a couple of negative ones. Or hostile is maybe too strong. Antagonistic would be a good word. And they were reacting to only the two sentences I've already said. And this got me thinking. This is where we have to go into some theory. Sorry. And this is an idea from a guy called Marshall McLuhan. And he's a Canadian philosopher, dead now, died in the 80s, Canadian philosopher and a theorist about media. And that moment reminded me of his famous phrase, the medium is the message. And what he meant was that it's not just the content that matters. It's not just what you say that matters. It's not just the words on the meme that matter, but it's the medium that you say them through shapes how people respond. It's a really simple idea. So at kind of first glance, we kind of usually think that content is the most important part of communication. Like the words in the book or the program on telly or the article in the newspaper or whatever. Now, he argued the opposite. The form of the medium itself invokes the response. So you respond differently to the newspaper than to the book, to the TV, to the radio, to the social media. We respond differently. You know, there are lots of examples. McLuhan's classic example is about a light bulb. He says a light bulb doesn't have content; it's a medium, and it provides light. And the light bulb has kind of changed human life. He also talks about the printing press. It wasn't the ideas that were in the books, because the ideas were already there. It was the fact that the medium itself was the message, because the medium itself made information widely available. Social media, the specific posts might vary, but the medium encourages us to scroll, to attend short form, to pay attention briefly, to be constantly connected, and to respond immediately based on very little information. So if we think about those couple of different formats, and this really kind of works in terms of thinking about the fact that this was a book that I was promoting with some ideas in it. And to do that, I used Facebook and put just a couple of sentences up. Okay, so books, the important thing about reading books, I say this to students all the time, what's gonna make me successful in my endeavor to get this social work degree? And it's that if you read books, the more books you read, the better you'll do. And that's because the more you read, the just more you kind of understand things, I'd argue. So books invite you to slow down. And you can spend time with extended ideas. So you can spend time where people have not just given you an idea, like for example, let's I mean, if we just take a title really from this, I don't know, is that going to work? Social work in the opaque is one of the things in here. It's no longer a question of right and wrong, but of choosing the least inadequate solution. Now, you could respond to that, couldn't you? But then if you go on to read the, how long's this one? I was telling you they're all short. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages. If you go on to read that, then you can get into the author's head, you can get into the writer's head and find out what they meant by that. So books kind of deliver a linear narrative with a kind of sustained structure to it. Facebook pushes fragments, snippets. I mean, if you think about it broadly, snippets of friends' lives, bits of news headlines, memes, they're endlessly refreshed. Here's another one, here's another one, here's another one. And the message is that information, so the message is the medium. Okay, sorry, the medium is the message. The message is that this is social, this is interactive, this is constantly being updated. You can send your response and then move on, and send your response and then move on, and it encourages us to kind of skim ideas, I think, rather than delve down into the detail by dwelling upon things. And there are links here, to the slow social work idea. The communication's quick in social media, isn't it? It's likes, comments, shares, that kind of thing, so there's a difference between these mediums that we use. The book, deep, solitary experience where you can get into your thoughts. The Facebook self is performative. We are performing as something, because that's what social media does to us. It means we perform, and but it's also a social experience, and it was a social experience, and I really enjoyed it. It's I don't post as much on social media these days as I used to, but when I used to post stuff on social media, if I got a couple of likes, happy days, that was kind of viral in my world. So the fact that last night I got 10 likes or something, or 10 reactions anyway, and a couple of conversations and some responses and things, that was brilliant. That was like, I'm like, this is what it must be like to be, somebody who's an influencer, someone who's out there. Do you know what I mean? Except, it was small numbers. But I'm a fan of the small numbers, not the big numbers. Small numbers to me show engagement. Everybody that was responding I knew, which is really good. I like that. I like that rather than more meaningless kind of likes and stuff when you get those numbers. Anyway, I digress. So book, deep and solitary, Facebook, performative and social. Both have their roles. I'm not a social media decrier particularly, although I think we need to think about how we use it. So when I posted that on social media, what I'd done is I'd moved into the system. And this is the problem. Systems are powerful things, aren't they? I'd moved into the system. I'd moved into the meme format. And I distilled the whole book into 2 sentences. So I was the starting point for that. The medium then encourages people to see that snippet as the whole. Because I suppose scrolling prioritizes that over thinking, oh, that's an interesting comment. It's actually one I don't agree with. So I'll tell you, I'm going to read that. I mean, I read books all the time written by people who I don't agree with, because I think you've got to know what people are saying who you don't agree with. Anyway, so the meme format distills the book into a couple of sentences. The comment system, this is where Facebook is amazing, amazing in what it's set out to do. It encourages reaction. And what's really interesting about that is, I reckon probably the reason that post did, I don't know how many percentage times better than normal posts in terms of tangible responses. I'm sure people look at them, but in terms of tangible responses, is because the algorithm loves conflict, for want of a better word. It loves it. So it's scanning those responses, and when it sees that some of the responses are maybe a little edgy, a little tetchy, it bumps it up the queue. It bumps it up. So, so thank you to those people. And the comment system, so it encourages you to be emotional and antagonistic. I'll use that word rather than say hostile, because I don't think the response was hostile. So the audience's behavior, if you like, is shaped by the rules of the medium. Scroll, react, perform. Scroll, react, perform. Than by the actual content. Oh, what does this mean? This is interesting. Where does this go? I don't agree with it. I'll explore it more. Or I do agree with it. I'll explore it more, whatever it happens to be. So the real message, McLuhan would say, the real message isn't the quote at all. It's the message is that Facebook trains us to treat fragments as wholes and react to those fragments. How does this connect to the book, to the slow social work thing, and to social work, I suppose, is the next thing, just to kind of round the whole thing off, I suppose. What I saw last night on Facebook was fast communication in McLuhan's sense. So it was compressed, it was decontextualized, it was driven by immediacy and reaction. And I'd argue, and the book starts to hint at this, I suppose, I'd argue that same dynamic exists in social work practice under the pressures of targets, audits, and managerialism. Now, what I'm not saying here is, this is not a criticism of social workers. It's a criticism of the system that you have to do social work in. I think the very fact that people end up getting support and help, or, people are protected, or risks are mitigated, or whatever, that all still happens. But is it happening in the most helpful way for the people on the end of that task, and also for you? So this is not a criticism. None of it's a criticism of social workers. And I think that's where the reaction last night came from. None of it's a criticism of social workers. I would argue you are operating in a broken system. And I would even argue that broken system is not the fault of teams, managers, senior managers, local authorities. It's the fault of how the world is. The world is fast, the world is rapid, and we've absorbed that into social work. So all of that neoliberal stuff about targets and managerialism and audits that I've just mentioned, it means that everything gets boiled down into the case note, into assessments, into decisions that are made from fragments of whole stories, maybe. Not because social workers are doing bad social work, but because it's all we have time to do. So I think that's really important. It's not a criticism of social work. So, fast practice, and again, I go into some of this in the book, fast practice, it rewards quick judgments. It rewards you getting the job done and before the end date, or at least at the end date. It rewards that. It rewards binary statements. Is the child safe or not? Well, the reality is maybe, maybe not. And maybe, maybe not if the child's removed. And there's parallels in adult social work as well. Fast practice drives us down this quick judgment reward path rather than sitting with the complexity of the situation and going, well, we don't quite know what to do yet. We don't quite know how this is going to go. That's that social work in the opaque. That's that little essay in there. And we take the fragments of people's lives, I'd argue, and we turn them into categories. We turn them into, risk scores, what have they scored on the risk scale? And we turn them into little narrative snapshots that get things done, get services provided, or get things into court, or whatever it happens to be. Get judgments, get decisions made by the person or for the person, depending on where you're at in the MCA there. So that's the system, not social workers doing bad social work. That's the system. And it's the system that is the target of what I've written. So for McLuhan, the message is the medium. The medium is IT systems, performance frameworks, managerial structures. And it's those things that are shaping practice, I'd argue. Get it done quick, reduce risk. Let's get a surface level certainty. It is or it isn't. They're at risk or they're not at risk. That, in some ways, that's rubbish. Do you know what I mean? Because it's far more complex. I don't think you can ever do that, And I think it's that complexity we need to embrace. We need to find a way to do social work that embraces that complexity. And maybe it existed back in the day, and maybe it's a post-Thatcher kind of neoliberal kind of thing, that performance agenda that has driven us down a particular route. And I'd argue people like me back in the day, when this was probably taking shape the most, we accepted it, got on with it. I think we need to unpick that maybe, So slow social work as the kind of antidote to this. I'd argue take time to read the book, and that's not just because I'm trying to flog it to you. If buy one if you can. If you can't, I've got a little pile of them kicking about here. Drop me a DM, tell me your address or whatever, and I'll send you one. I can't do that forever, but I've got some left still that I can do that with. So if you want one and you can't afford one, do that, or just nip in and buy one, $5.99. I think. So anyway, take time to read the whole book. It'll take you a day, 2 days, if that. You know what I mean? You could read an essay. You could read each essay in about 10 minutes. So you could read it over a week like that. Not just the 2-sentence meme that I posted. Do you know what? And I was going to post some other little snippets out of it today, and I'm not sure now. So and the parallel with that is, we need to start exploring whole people. I suppose that's part of the slow social work thing, and sitting with their discomfort, with their complexity, those kind of things. And that helps us value depth by reading the whole thing. And it would make for a much better argument against it if you read the whole thing, because then you would know what I'm saying. Slow practice, and again, this is something covered in the book. Slow practice allows space for meaning to emerge in the relationships we have with people, rather than maybe we make assumptions. I don't know. Again, tell me if I'm wrong. Most of these things are based on conversations with practitioners and ASYEs. I haven't just made this stuff up. Written from a point of view of, I think we're struggling in the system as it is. and resist the medium's message, I suppose. Just as I've said that Facebook comments are shaped by the platform, slow social work, or this concept, would remind us that social work is shaped by the system. And if we resist that, we can reclaim time. And I don't mean have more time. I just mean reclaim time in how we use it, maybe. And reclaim attention. Attending is the one of the key social work aspects, and it will foster presence. So fast social works like the Facebook comments, fragmented, reactive. And people tell me that all the time. This is the thing. I'm not making this up, honest. People tell me all the time, oh, it's just reactive now. We're just reacting all the time to things going wrong, and social work's identity is a consequence of that. It's been flattened into risk assessment, timescales, whatever. We this richly flavored profession has been flattened, I think. Slow social work would be like reading the book rather than the Facebook comments. It would give us some context. It would mean depth. It would mean sustaining presence with people in the same way as you'd have to sustain your presence in the book. And I think the identity of social work, as it should be, and that's what I'm calling for here, I suppose, is for us to figure out what we think social work should be, and then how do we get back to that, or get to that, if maybe we were never there, I don't know. We honor the identity of social work, and honoring the identity of social work means we honor the identity of the children and old people and people with learning disabilities, etc., mental health problems. It honors them. It honors their identity, because the identity of social work is honored. So that's it. It's a nice blue color as well. It took me ages to pick the blue color. And the little image. There you go. From the edges of practice, slow social work. Give it a go or don't give it a go. Whatever's your bag. Whatever's your bag. Good to talk to you.